Guess how many decisions the average person makes a day? 35,000 decisions a day. Can you imagine? From the moment when we decide whether or not we are going to get out of bed or if we're going to hit the snooze button, our brain is already going, making all these decisions. Decisions about what to wear or what to eat or who to call and what to do with the time that you have in that day. So many decisions to make. And I don't know about you, but sometimes I really struggle with those decisions that are in front of me. I begin to look at these things that are coming, and I begin to worry and obsess over making the right decision and what is the right decision and what would happen if I'm wrong in making that decision. I find myself sometimes just hemming and hawing and writing out a pros and cons list like my dad taught me. My dad taught this to me when I was in second grade, and I was trying to decide whether or not I should play another season of soccer. So he got out a piece of paper and he taught me pros on one side on why I should play and cons on why I shouldn't play. As we grow older, it seems like the decisions that we have, they're much bigger than whether or not we are going to play another season of soccer. The decisions that we have become kind of really heavy. 3 years ago, when my mom was dying from complications of brain cancer, we were at Mayo Clinic, and she had made the decision to stop treatment for her cancer. And during this time, I had the responsibility of meeting with the Office of Decedent Affairs to make plans for what to do with my mom's body following her death. I had to make decisions like, do we do an autopsy? And what level of autopsy do we do? Because Mayo Clinic is a teaching hospital. I had to decide which funeral home would transport her body from Rochester back to Des Moines. And I had to decide on how we would settle the bills that were associated with 9 months of cancer treatments. And all of this felt, honestly, absolutely incredibly insane to me. It was one of the hardest things that I've ever had to do because I was making decisions on behalf of my mom, who was just alive and coherent down the hall. I was making these decisions on what to do with her body after she died when she could have said those things on her own from just a couple of doors down. And I could have gone and asked her about what she wanted to do. But this isn't what we, my family, or her doctors, we wanted her last days to be focused on. We didn't want her to be worried about these decisions, so I was willing to take those decisions onto myself. You see, decisions can be very simple, like what earrings am I going to wear today? Or what kind of eggs should I buy? Cage-free or brown or organic or local or just cheap? Or sometimes they're really hard, like how am I going to move forward with my life after tragedy? Or which career should I choose? Or how I will bury my loved one? It's easy for us to lose our sense of peace and calm during times that require difficult decisions, and we can become just completely wrung up and tied in knots of indecision. And we start to make these fears come around that we might make a bad decision, and we start to get anxiety. And I know that I have lost sleep over difficult decisions and over my own indecisiveness. Because you see, we live in this world that has infinite options, so many options. And we spend countless energy just searching and scrolling and researching and looking up reviews. And we end up with what's called decision fatigue, or sometimes it's called analysis paralysis. Psychologist Barry Schwartz calls this the paradox of choice. These choices, our ability to choose, almost anything we want in this life, has not actually led us to greater happiness, as you might think, but instead it actually has led us as a society into greater misery. This author, he writes, it can make you question the decisions you make before you even make them. It can set you up for unrealistic high expectations, and it can make you blame yourself for any and all failures that might come from these decisions. You see, these decisions, these multitude of choices, they can lead us to get stuck with the fear that there's maybe a better option out there. Fear of a better option, or as it's now coined, FOMO, this fear of missing out. Fear that if we commit to this choice, then we are missing out on maybe a better choice that's out there. Maybe better eggs to buy, or a better job to pursue, or a better person to date, or a better movie to watch, or a better life to live. You see, I think this fear, it's infiltrated our lives, and it's no wonder that we struggle with committing to deciding anything. It's no wonder when we struggle and how often we are disappointed by all the other options that we maybe could have possibly chosen. And I think we end up losing our sense of peace. I know that you have all experienced this difficulty sleeping because of a decision that had to be made. Or sometimes it's so overwhelming we find ourselves numbing with things like alcohol or Netflix, all because this uncertainty, this indecision, we miss out on this sense of inner peace and calm. So friends, what decision are you facing today? What's kind of keeping you up at night and getting you all wrapped up in knots? In the book, Alice in Wonderland, Alice is walking through a dark forest and she comes to a crossroads. And at this crossroads, there are two directions that she could go. And who should appear but the clever Cheshire Cat? And Alice, she has collapsed on the ground and she has collapsed in this indecision and she is crying. So the cat creeps up to her and says, "My dear, what's the matter?" And Alice looked at these two roads and she said, "I don't know which road to take." And the cat responded, "Well, where do you want to go?" And Alice says, "Well, I don't know. I don't much care where." Then the cat answered, "Well, then it doesn't matter which road you take." Friends, whatever decision you are facing today, whatever you're struggling with today, you don't go alone. You see, God is so omnipresent that God is with you on both paths. We may not know what is ahead of us, but we know who is in it with us. And it is in this promise, in God's promise, that we can have peace no matter what path we take. The book of Proverbs says, "Trust in the Lord with all your heart and do not rely on your own understanding. In all your ways acknowledge him and he will make straight your paths." Friends, in every decision, trust that God has got you. And if you know someone who could use this message today, somebody who's struggling to try and make a good decision right now, somebody who maybe is suffering from analysis paralysis or the paradox of choice, would you do me a favor? Would you go ahead and share this with them? If you're somebody who's watching on Facebook, would you share this on your own page? Consider tagging somebody who could use it. If you're joining us on YouTube, would you go ahead and hit the bell? And if you're joining us on cable access, I'm so honored that you're here. Will you invite someone to watch with you tomorrow as we uncover the missing piece this week on the Daily Dose?
You are a refuge, you have no borders. When I was a stranger knocking at your door, you took me in with no questions and no conditions. When I was a sinner running from your grace, you called me friend. You called me friend. 'Cause there are no outsiders to your love. We are all welcome, there's grace enough. When I have wandered, Lord, your cross is the open door. There are no outsiders, and I'm not an outsider to your love. The harbor in every tempest. When my soul was shipwrecked, tossed upon the waves, you calmed the storm. You are the Father, there are no orphans. Every tribe and nation gathered in your arms, sing with one voice, sing with one voice. 'Cause there are no outsiders to your love. We are all welcome, there's grace enough. When I am wandered, Lord, your cross is the open door. There are no